Everybody stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Everybody had a chance that could review the minutes. Other than the printer issue. These are the clerk's minutes because of the printer issue. If anybody has an issue with these, contact Bonnie anytime during the week where she posts them as her minutes. Leave those open for your discretion in case anybody has any questions on the stuff that they can't read.
Okay. The minutes too.
Yeah. I left under public comment. Steve Cole joined us tonight. The town, he must be out of town.
No, he's walking the dog road.
Was he?
Yeah.
We're still looking into the water issue that runs off of that on Gaiety Road and gave him some contact points. Contact DOT, but we're not letting that one go. It's been an issue for a long time, but we really need the DOT to partner with us on this because the only place you're going to be able to send that water is down the road or down the drain.
Across the road, it's got to cross it
It's
somewhere.
got to cross the road some way, either on top of it or underneath it. Anything else for public comment? I see quite a few new faces here tonight. George,
Correction for a minute.
what's that?
Correction for a minute.
Sure.
Regarding the electricity for Stock Lane, that lady was at the 500 block of Uncas. She didn't live on Stock Lane. I just remember.
Oh,
that fire.
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Let's clarify
yeah.
that.
Thank you.
And on the second public comment, I asked a question about the trees, but I don't remember it going quite this way. I thought I asked a question about the trees, and I thought you would ask the supervisor or the highway superintendent said they wouldn't be taking those trees much before December.
That we were going to be cutting some trees, but we weren't, because the way it reads in here, it's kind of
It's not what I remember of the conversation.
correct.
Okay.
Right, but that we would be cutting trees, but not before December, correct? Or
Something along those lines you asked him, and I think he was saying they with how busy they were, they wouldn't get a chance to get to them much for December.
right up, going up towards where the road's going in, correct? Not necessarily where the turnaround, because they were going to be doing work and what they did do.
Which they did a nice job on that, by the way, thank you.
Yeah, it came out really nice.
I'll make it there now.
But I guess my concern is of any trees being cut, we really need to have a plan in place before you start cutting trees, because if you cut trees, the plan doesn't. Engineers maybe say you can't do this, if something happens, and cut some trees down.
The only trees that would be cut at this point in time would be for the drive or the road to where the parking area is. And one of the conditions of the ownership transfer with Mr. Deming was access to the one lot. In order for the swap, he wanted us to share that drive. So it would be cutting a path only, not the hiking trail going from the parking area up to Eagle Cliff itself.
But this still has to go through an engineering firm, right?
For picking the road.
And you put the road in the parking lot?
The road at this point, we were looking to cut some trees for the road. And we walked that with us, as you know, there's tape out there. We walked that with the surveyor to pick the best line in the highway department for that. In that location, I honestly don't believe we need an engineering statement for the driveway.
So it's a town, but it's a town that's cutting those trees down.
Well, it would be.
Yes, it would be, yes.
And both parcels according to tax rolls are currently owned by Deming.
And again, part of the transfer agreement was in order to put the road into where our parking, if the parking area is solely on the land that we would wind up retaining and owning, but we have to get there. And there's language in that agreement that calls for that. We have a right of way across there. So we were cutting the right of way.
So
Because the driveway would be shared with the trail.
The driveway would be shared.
Driveway to that lot. That's what he's saying.
So I'm a little confused,
It'd be
just so
the
I
same-
can,
no, yeah, I get that, but you gotta put a parking lot in there that, up there eventually, if for some reason things don't pan out, then the town has basically put a right of way to his property. On tax dollars instead of him, which I don't know why he don't put right away in '97 when he worked with a family to get that all divided. But,
I wasn't.
there's not a guarantee that this can even happen from an engineering standpoint. I mean, I looked at a parking lot up there, for example, you're taking that square footage of a parking lot. Okay, and taking away the water runoff, got cars parked up there. If you have a parking lot, where's gas, oil, anything leaking from cars gonna go? There's a lot involved before it seems like we're putting a cart before the horse on this, that's all.
It may seem that way. The parking area, when you keep saying parking lot, it's a generic term. The best comparison I can say to what we've all discussed and had walkthroughs, the one across from Holiday Shores, that they put in 10, 15 years ago. It's a very small parking area for the access over on Moss Lake. I'm trying to think of the name of that. Bug and Sis Trail. I think you can probably park 5 or 6 cars there, and then you wind up with people parking out on Trail 5. Again, this parking lot is meant to be for handicapped access only, and I gotta be careful when we say handicapped. It's for those with limited mobility. There's a great distinction between the two of those.
Once you make that handicap, then you have to, I believe you have to comply with those requirements, which is bigger parking space per vehicle, or if they have ramps and stuff like that.
Correct. That's why I need to make sure I never use the word handicapped again, limited mobility. Okay, limited mobility is a different level to reach for. And the plan is for probably 4 cars, and again, that would be key card access only. If this does happen, that would have the gate. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at Dillon up in Long Lake with the access that they have there. It's just a simple keypad, and the number changes and rotates weekly. And it has to come into the town clerk to get access. It's not an open parking area. I don't know any other way to preface that.
All right, well, like I said, I just think everything should be in line before we even cut one tree, that's all I'm saying. And we don't even have a proposed budget amount of what it's gonna cost. Do we?
Not at this point in time, no. We were trying to, when we're doing stuff in-house with some of the dollars with some of these projects, you can, I hate to compare it to the Townsend Trail or whatever, but that's as piecemeal as it's come. This has kind of started out piecemeal in the same way, in the hopes that we would be able to do some one year, some the next year, some the year after that. And quite honestly, with budgets, I don't know if anybody follows any of the big projects. You set a budget in 2022, and guess what happens to those numbers in 2028? Who would have known what the costs were going to do the last 3 years with COVID? Thank God we built our highway garage when we built our highway garage. I can't even imagine building that this year. It was one of these that we were trying to attempt to do as it went along.
And just please keep in mind too, it does only affect the residents on Evans Drive because it's our front yard. It affects all those residents on Uncas Road because it's their backyard.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Anything else for public comment? All right. We still have a couple of minutes before we open the public hearings. Communications. The work is ongoing. The concrete has been poured for both pad sites at the top of Corsani's Hill, and the towers were delivered to the base of the hill this week. They're sitting on Chip's property right now, I think. So that means you own them until we put them up? I'm gonna be putting some pictures out on Facebook, but the work that they've done on the site up there has been pretty monumental. The towers are gonna be proposed to stand up on their mounts next Tuesday if Mother Nature will allow. National Grid and power going to the site is a completely different issue. Danny, do you want to chime in on that?
I did make just a quick contact just to confirm some of the things and they were all legitimate, I don't want to use the word excuses, but concerns for National Grid. They all exist, those things all existed at one point. There was some question about the ownership of the property and the right of way to go across it, which I believe is all taken care of. I guess the biggest issue, which we can't deny, is the weather happening fast, as we all know, because we all wore coats tonight. And that changes things quickly for them and their ability to work and do that kind of outside stuff. They had questions about the road surface, whether or not they could drive their heavy trucks, which I think we've answered. If they can drive that concrete truck all the way to the top, there shouldn't be any issue. Yep.
But the biggest one that does exist is the channel for the conduit is not in place. So all the blasting is not finished. And there was a question about crossing a water stream and whether or not they were going to go up and overhead on poles or they were going to bore underneath, which sounded monumental, but they know what they're doing, I'm sure. But those were big projects and added on top of the fact that they are allegedly seriously backlogged on everything else. So I'll continue to keep beating on my contact and seeing what we can do.
Our hope,
It does seem like it will be next year, spring.
our hope is next summer to have those towers active. I would love to have mid-spring. It depends on how long winter lasts. There's a lot dependent on it, but
Unless you got that windmill.
But, all right, what time we got here? I might as well grab one and drag it onto this. Part and parcel with those towers going live, though, we're still having issues with the 911 phone calls. You want to do that?
No, I
Oh.
was gonna see if I could set up a text to text you.
Gotcha. We've had many issues, with the last couple of calls that were placed, and I believe some that were placed over the Spectrum home service lines. They're still being routed through Albany, and then they try to send them over to Hamilton County's new 911 station. And you beg the operators online to send them to the Herkimer, and eventually they may get there, but without half the information that's needed that came in on the call. I've been screaming at the county, and I plan on screaming again tomorrow at our budget session in Lake Pleasant. That they're holding us hostage. The county sheriff and the emergency management, they've got all these grants for the 911 PSAB center they've got. And Hamilton County is different than any other county. There are 4 towns that go in different directions out of the county for service and work with other ambulance bases. And we're the ones that are closest sitting on a county line with Herkimer and Town of Webb. These new towers go live. We're going to have a major issue with people calling from Herkimer County, the Town of Webb, on the lake, off the lake, if they can see the tower, and they're going to be routed the wrong way. My next shot for the county is, either convince Old Forge to go with Hamilton County's 911, so we're all on the same page, which will never happen, or leave us alone. We need to stay where we are. I understand that the fire and ambulance bases are going to be writing letters to the sheriff. We've contacted almost everybody we know. We're not giving up. And I've been getting a little bit of the runaround from a couple of people at county, and tomorrow I'm going to demand that it stops.
I think I set it up, so.
Okay,
Dang you.
good. It's gonna mess with somebody's life at some point in time, and it's not right. All for the fact that we just want to have the calls coming into our little center and collect a nickel off each call.
We pay for that service. The town pays
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
it's a line in our budget.
So they're interfering with our
Contract.
contract.
All right, it is now 7:45. We have 2 public hearings to open. I'm gonna ask for the public hearing on short-term rental regulations to be open first. I need a motion.
Move that.
I'll second it.
Second it. Discussion. It's the board's intent to keep this public hearing open through the winter into next year, possibly to the May or June meeting, so that any resident, part-time or full-time, will have a chance to talk and speak before the board in person and or submit letters to the town clerk as part of the process here. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. That public hearing stands open. If you'll bear with me for 1 second, I also need to open the public hearing on the town budget. Then we'll come right back to the rental regulations. I'd like to ask for a motion to open the public hearing on the 2023 town budget.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Both public hearings stand open. Is anybody here wishing to address the board on the public hearing for short-term rental regulations? Wow, I thought there'd be at least one or two.
Yeah, we got a bunch of.
What's that?
I'd like to talk about this road to round.
Sure. State your name,
So, I read through, I own 22 South Shore.
You want to
Road.
say anything?
state,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, I'm Mike McCuzak.
Okay.
22 South Shore Road.
thought so, I just, for the record.
Yeah. no problem. So I read through the, regulations, a lot of it, is, I'm trying to interpret exactly what you're trying to do. I understand, selling properties and then not being able to rent it for several years after that. But I guess, what is the actual intent with the regulations? What are you looking to accomplish, from them?
In a nutshell. First and foremost, to make sure that anything that is being rented is being done in a safe manner, I think. Equal on that would be probably if it's housing stock that was or could be year-round housing stock for anybody that wanted to work and live here, to try and protect some of that possibly. It's we're not the only community struggling with this and trying to find the way to do it. Those to me are the two main objectives, is to try and protect some housing stock, and or to make sure things are done safely. When we first adopted the one 2007 2002, I always get that wrong. 2002, it was more to protect those that wanted to rent, and then those that were living next to them that didn't want them to rent, but find a way to bridge that so that there was a safe way that you didn't wind up with the 30 college kids in there, that the septic system wasn't being overwhelmed and affecting the well next door, that there was enough parking for the cars that were coming. And should there be an issue, we wanted a contact point. Those are still played forward in this, and I think the planning board, with the help from the town lawyers, we're trying to find what are the next areas of coverage. I know Webb struggled with this. I know recently I read up in Wilmington outside Lake Placid has been struggling with it. Lake Placid itself, Saranac, it's the same struggle. Do I think this is a perfect document right now? No. But that's what public hearings are for. I still commend the planning board for what they came up with, but that's what this process is about. Tell us what you do or don't like, and we'll look at it. There's members of our town board that don't like parts of it. But you still have to come up with something to present. And this was a workable document to start with. Were there pieces of it you'd like to comment on itself?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to understand the intent, so thank you for that.
Okay.
I think, I don't plan on selling anytime soon, but the language around being able to rent in the future, once it sells, I don't know if I like that. Yeah, it's just frankly, it's just the overreach and control of where this is going. I know that the housing market is sky high. I get it. That's starting to crash now, as we all know, with rates going up. And I guess if it's a mechanism to try to control the market in the situation that you all are in here, residents, the jobs, there's a lack of jobs, the houses are way overpriced, I get it. So that's to me, that's a separate issue than the short-term rental thing is. So I just want to make sure that I guess that's not getting mixed into it.
it's hard to say mixed in, or while you're doing it, how do you not address it, or at least look at it? You know, I don't know the best way to state that. Again, noted, you're not the only one with that concern, and others. Anybody else? We usually like to limit people to 2 minutes or whatever, but there's not a lot of people raising their hands.
Hi, I'm Amy Bear at 29 Kelly Road.
Okay.
So, I agree with some of the comments that you made, and I think, I guess the one thing I would say to the folks that wrote it is, I think, just from looking at what's been done in Old Forge and, you know, having a time frame of 2 weeks on someone to come and run a house, I think is very extreme, because I view Inlet as a town that, you know, we need tourism, and, you know, we need that obviously to support everyone that's here around. So I think on the positive, I think I would just say thank you, because it's not in this document, so I want to bring that up. You know, for myself, I mean, everything that's in there, I currently comply with, so I don't necessarily have a huge issue. I do feel like some of it is a bit overreaching in terms of like some of the beginning section of just not taking care of your property and those types of things, because obviously with housing prices going up, if we're gonna pay all this money, not gonna buy something and not take care of it. But otherwise, I just wanted to make a comment on the timeframe, which was not in there.
Thank you. Noted. And thank you for coming and commenting.
Hi, Daryl Haskell, Don Allmiller, 231, 28. I would just second that. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to peruse the documents. I found out about this last minute,
Okay,
so I'm gonna look forward to reading that, but I would agree that a 2-week rental. We've been in the rental business a long time. We started in Utica and we've transitioned to more vacation type rentals. I mean, anybody who's doing this as a business, I'm not gonna say there aren't bad actors, and I understand the balance that needs to be reached, and there is a balance that needs to be reached. However, the balance is, how do you let someone own their own property and be responsible while maintaining what's good to the public? I mean, I get that. There is a balance, but government overreach is a concern. But I understand there are also bad actors as landlords. So we were considered good landlords in Utica, where there were a lot of bad ones. So I understand the balancing act, and you have a difficult job. But I do want to go on record as saying that we certainly would be opposed to anything more than 1 week, you know, as a minimum. I just think that, you know, a lot of families that vacation don't vacation for 2 weeks. As an employee of another company, I started out with 2 weeks vacation. I couldn't take it all in one place. So I think people vacation for 1 week, and I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. So.
and trends have been going to long weekends too, and some of that stuff, so trying to address all that. Back in 2002, when this started, I was a member of the town board, not the supervisor, and I remember sitting in on some of those meetings, and my mantra at that point in time, I think it was just about the supervisor though. Anyways, my mantra, it was keep it simple. I did not want us to become that condo association in Florida where if the tricycle's left on the sidewalk, you know, somebody's gonna be knocking on your door and it better be moved in 38 seconds or else you're getting a fine. But again, like you said, trying to protect against the bad actors is gonna be the hard part.
And if I may, the majority of ours are 4-day rentals or 5-day rentals, and we're not even reaching a week. I'm actually giving a little bit to say, let's go, I can live with going to a week. I mean, we get a lot of people who say, we're here for 4 days, 5 days.
We see those requests with our cottages. Thank you.
I would, sorry,
Yeah.
I would just echo what he just said. It's the same thing. I mean, I just bought my house a year ago. I've only rented a few times during the summer. So we live in it otherwise. And most people, I mean, they can't, you know, 2 weeks vacation, a couple weeks vacation, they're not gonna come up here for 2 weeks, and they want to be able to do exactly what you mentioned. So I agree with you, and we want them here. It's great with everything that's been done in the town, and we want to be able to come in and spend their money in Inlet.
And I want to say, right, I don't think there's a single member of the board or those that work for the town that don't understand. Tourism's number one. Without it, and we've got something neat here. So again, try not to mess it up, trying to find the best way to move forward.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I guess one last, excuse me, one last comment. So I am in full support of, obviously, from an inspection standpoint to some degree, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. I mean, just like common sense stuff, absolutely. I mean, my place is, I mean, I look at this house it's better than my house at home, to be honest with you. I mean, it's perfect. I go through there personally myself. I do all the work myself. Everything is how I want it. But you're gonna have people that don't have smoke detectors, that don't have fire extinguishers, that, yeah, there's risks there. So having that done once a quarter, 4 times a year, 3 times a year, totally reasonable.
following the trends that are online and the news things, Airbnbs right now are actually starting to get and I'll use Airbnb as just a reference. Some of the headlines are that there are more bad actors out there now than there ever were, and people are actually starting to move away from that and go back towards hotels and motels. And the only reason I bring that up is trying to level the playing field. Times have changed from where my parents had a cottage on the lake and they might have rented it to their cousin for 2 weeks to cover the taxes. You couldn't cover the taxes. I get it with 2 weeks anymore, but it's become more of a business. And you mentioned business. And if it's truly going to be a business, they shouldn't be on an unfair playing field with the motels and the hotels that have to answer to the health department. The health department doesn't want to know about the individual homeowner that's renting their house yet. I have a funny feeling that in some cities that's changing. I don't see it changing around here. So that leaves it up to us. Again, that's the other one, trying to level the playing field and make sure that somebody doesn't have that house without the smoke alarms, the fire extinguishers, and the proper parking and septic. I think I'm talking in circles, but George, I think I saw you had your hand up again, or?
No.
Oh, okay, just stretching.
It's in my ear.
Okay. Anybody else? And we do have some other stuff to talk about. I'm sure you're all very interested in the town budget. Just an if the public hearing stays open, it is not our intention to close it. You haven't had a chance to read the document. I stated earlier, May or June is when we're looking at it. But May at absolute earliest, June would probably be the time that I'm shooting for. We also pride ourselves, I believe, this board and that we don't try to rush those things through. And same with the trail, George. It's not being rushed through. It's just take time. If you don't want to know about rush through, ask Peggy about Townsend Trail. Sorry.
I don't mind if I'm on piecemeal.
I understand. All right. Turning to the town budget. At the top of the front page, because there's no numbers on the pages, if you go across the top 2021, 2022, 2023, you'll notice that the tax rate total is 663, 663, 663. While the budget may be up on spending, down a little bit on revenues, our assessed value in the town of Inlet has gone up. We've already hit on one of the reasons because the sale values have gone up. So our assessor has had to go through and look at neighborhoods. Started years ago with some neighborhoods on the lake. It's even with the sales recently due to COVID off-road, back down Uncas Road. Lots, everything's value went up. The state forces us to keep 100% valuation on property. And if we don't, then they're going to ask for a town-wide reval where we've got to bring somebody in from outside that doesn't know the area. And anytime a town's done that, it's been hideous. I will commend Amy Van Wee and her new protege, John Roush, for keeping us at 100%. We're one of the few in Hamilton County and the Adirondack Park that are at 100%. With that comes I don't know if you want to call it the benefit of being able to keep the tax rate the same. The majority of the assessed value going up. I'm sure everybody's seen the new buildings at Rocky Point. When those turn around and sell for $1 million a piece, that's quite a shot going on the assessed value. That said, if you go to the back page. Second to last back page. The assessed value in 2021. Was it's the middle one, $320 million. 2022, the assessed value was $331 million. The assessed value for next year is pegged at $371 million. If we could only get the state to raise their assessed value, it would play out a lot better for the homeowners. If your value and your assessment did not go up, your taxes, as far as the town are concerned, will not be going up next year. The county is meeting on its budget as we speak. Look to adopt their budget in two weeks. I'll tell you right now, their budget is going to be over the tax cap. The state consider us over the tax cap because if you get down to the yellow, wish I had page numbers on here, folks. I'm sorry, line 307. General fund is going to up 7.99% in spending. When I first submitted the draft budget to the town board, I wanted to accomplish two things the last couple of years as the rate's gone up. The employees that live and work here, in my opinion, have been underpaid for years. If the property that's been selling to non-residents has been driving the rates through the roof and that there's money coming into the coffers, it was time to invest in our infrastructure. And part of that infrastructure was our town workforce. Again, this year, I throughout the budget, I've got a 7.5 cost of living increase on any labor line. That's actually below what I believe the Social Security has come out with 8 or 9, I believe. Keep changing it every week. They originally forecasted 11. I wasn't going to go that high. Those are the major increases as you go through the budget. Or the labor lines. I know I'm jumping around, but I'll highlight. Going back to this second to last page, fire and ambulance contracts. These were the two single biggest increases in taking advantage of that additional assessed value. An increase of $15,000 for the fire department and an increase of $35,000 for the ambulance. Herb, you want to talk about the ambulance?
Yeah, I will a little bit. Over the years, inland ambulance has been was all volunteer a long time ago. And then, I'm gonna say probably 20 years ago or so, we started slowly bringing a paramedic in to pay. And they would work in the summer. And the reason for that was because the volunteerism is very hard to do. The state made it a lot harder to get your classes and your certifications and people are so busy. And so you don't have the volunteerism. So in order to keep our ambulance running, we brought in a paramedic or an EMT to house the station during the summertime when it was really busy, but we still didn't have anything on the off season. Then we started over time, we started doing weekends a little bit here and there. And as we got a little bit more money, we were able to do this. Well, about a year ago, I sat down with the board in the ambulance. I'm in the ambulance board and talked about seeing if we could come up with a program where we would have a paid person at the station 24/7, 365 days a year. Other agencies like Old Forge does that. They contract with Edwards. I think they pay about $300,000 a year to do that. When the time you're paying somebody to be there 24 hours a day, and you've got to cover their comp and their everything else. So there's no way we could do that. Our budget is way too small for that. So I came up with a plan and I said, let's implement the plan this year. We'll try it. If it works, then we'll go back to the town board to get more money after proof of concept. So what we ended up doing was it came up with this plan where we have somebody at the station and they'll work a 12-hour shift. And then the second 12 hours, they'll be on like an on-call basis. They don't necessarily have to be at the station, just be in town, and they have to answer their radio and they get a stipend for that. And then we started in January with this program. We've been working it through. We haven't hit every day. There's been a couple days where we haven't had any coverage, but for the most part, we've had coverage. Whether it be an EMT or a paramedic, whether they're on call or they're at the station, but there's somebody to answer. The drivers are still all volunteer and we haven't had too much trouble with drivers. We can always use more of those if anybody in here wants to be a driver. But the concept proved to work. And so I went to the town board and said, I'm gonna need a little bit of a bump this year in order to keep this going. So our payroll for the year is about 120,000 to do what we're doing, but it's given us much more coverage. We're covering the calls. We're able to bill, so we get money back from insurance companies on billing for transport. That helps to fund it. We do fundraisers through the Inland Emergency Services, 3 big fundraisers a year. That helps support it. I mean, there's a lot of things we do, but the town adding this other 35,000 in, I think will make it so that I'm not in the red like I am this year because, you know, I had the money to do it, but I don't have the money to do it every year unless we were able to increase that. The fire department, it's been a long time. We needed to get a new vehicle. So we have a fire truck on order. It's almost a $300,000 fire truck. Almost. Oh, more than 300,000? I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. 500,000. Sorry, $500,000 fire truck. That we've ordered and taken delivery of in a couple of weeks. We were able to over saving, we saved half the money for it. We were able to put down, then the rest of it, that's why my mind was thinking of a different number. And now I've got to pay the rest of it this week, so we can go pick it up next week. So that's going to add to it, and that's why the town came forward to help us a little bit with the payments on that.
Again, with the increased assessed value, if it's there, and budget school, they always told me you don't go backwards in assessed value, or not assessed value, and tax rates. If it had to be carved out someplace, that's a benefit to year-round visitors, seasonal homeowners, anybody that's being assessed taxes. To me, that was a best place for it, just like putting it with our infrastructure, our employees. Other areas as you go through this budget that are in blue are non-payroll lines. The first couple of pages are the first page and a half are revenues. We only changed, I believe, 4 things in there. Snowmobile Mill permit, we bumped that up 2,250, hoping that the town of Webb still wants us to be a partner in their snowmobile program. Refuge contract is down 20,000 with the county. We've been getting 40,000 for the last 16 years from them to cover how we help other towns process their recyclables as they come here. We sort. We got money for labor, basically labor and electricity, 40,000. It could have been a better deal, could have been a worse deal. The only thing good about this is as we gravitate towards single stream recycling, gotta make sure I get that right. There's not as much sorting. The other towns aren't going to be bringing us our recyclables. The county was basically going to pull the plug on the 40,000. I was able to talk them into, giving us a step 20,000 so we can help get that building rearranged, help with labor, and not kill our budget 1 year in just 1 year. That will be another 20,000 coming out next year. No matter how much I argued at the budget session yesterday that they just take $50 off a year, go for it. Rental real property, we've got that up. We're increasing the rate that we charge for our 3 cottages in the park. But that is 77,500 that's in the budget for those cottages. We try and keep our cottages here higher than the surrounding housing stock so that we're not in competition for the empty cottages. We try and keep those, I believe, above. Maybe not all of those that are individually rented out, but, it is a unique piece of property with a tennis court, ball field and beach with lifeguards when we can find them. A small bump in ski snow grant. The three areas that went up do not begin to cover the 20,000 that's coming out. So for less $10,000 in revenues going into next year budgeted. Any questions on revenues? Again, as you work through the budget on page 2, page 3, the blue lines, the first one you're gonna come to is the assistant. It's been labeled this forever, assistant clerk salary. It's actually our new position, our codes trainee, Mr. Roush. His line there, Amy will be stepping down from codes in a couple of years. She will be also stepping down as assessor in a couple of years. We had to start bringing somebody in. It's a 2-year process to get the training. How many tests are you looking at?
6 in the next 4 months.
6 in the next 4 months. So that is a new line, but again, we've got to be prepared for the future. The contractual line there that's got a blue line over the 12,000, that's for some of the training. You get down in the next blue line is deputy town clerk. She wanted to add one more deputy town clerk to help with some of the billing issues, bookkeeping issues.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is if they're sworn in as your deputy, correct? As opposed to going out to spending more money with the bookkeeper
Or under audit.
or under audit.
Yep.
Attorney contractual, I backed that down a little bit. We were worried about being sued for a couple of things over the last couple of years. Hopefully, we're not opening ourselves up again with the some of the stuff we've got going on, but we haven't been spending that money, so I took some out of there. Anything that we've done needed attorneys for lately have been through projects like the cell tower, where we've got separate money that are allocated for that. This was just the line for if we need an attorney fast, can we go out and get one? Next, down lower in the page, line 128 or 129, I'm sorry, town hall contractual. Up 5,500 to 38,000. It's no secret that supplies are going through the roof. Town hall cleanings, same thing. Communication. Prices are up. We weren't meeting the expense lines. Bumped at $1,000. Same with central storeroom, bumped $1,000. Fire insurance, no surprise there. Insurance has gone up. And as we add more property, the 2 cell towers that are going up. I guess I break in now and give my little, in case anybody hasn't heard this before. It's very convoluted up on Mr. Corsani's Hill. He has leased the land to Tarpon Towers to put up towers for T-Mobile and AT&T. Herkimer County, Hamilton County, and the town of Inlet are going on the towers as well. We did crowdsource funding, raised $380,000 between what the town has had in its budget, what people on the lakes and the town gave. We secured a grant from the Northern Borders for $450,000. In order to spend the federal money was dictated just for cell, not for our emergency services. The crowdsource funding we raised was for emergency services. We got approval from the feds to purchase the 2 towers, purchase a generator, purchase a storage shed, and that will eat up $450,000. We then get to give use back on those 2 towers that are going to be sitting on leased land to Tarpon Towers. Have I lost anybody yet?
No, we're good.
I lost myself. Mr. Corsani and Tarpon Towers get the benefit of the cell company rents that are going to be on the towers. We get the benefit of the fact that the feds gave us money to purchase that metal, the structure, the generator, so that we don't have to pay anything to have our emergency services, our parks communication, our snowmobile communication, our highway communication on that tower in perpetuity. where was I going with all that? But we're gonna have to insure those two towers that
We own
we
it.
now own. Sorry. Capital equipment, capital fixed assets. I left the blue line on capital equipment. I had a lot more money in there at one point and I took it out, so there's no increase there. Capital fixed assets, added $1,000 for that. That's anytime that we want to purchase something. I believe this year we're purchasing a shed for groomers up at the ball field. Purchases like that, so we've got money that we can put towards fixed assets. Police administration's got an extra 16,000 in there. We're again not sure what's going on with moving forward in the next couple of years, is we might have to hire our own police chief. Right now, we've been using the services of the Old Forge Town of Webb Police Chief. He's talked possibly retirement sometime in the future, but I've got to start putting money in the budget and park it someplace, or at least have the line that I can transfer. If anybody thinks we're gonna get a police chief for $36,000, it's not gonna happen. And I'd like to thank the town of Webb to continue to allow their police chief to serve as our police chief. It's another one of those things that the two communities working together, even though we're in separate counties, has actually worked out really well. And again, I bumped up a little bit of money for part-time snow. That's where they go out on the snowmobile. We're gonna be in the same program with town of Webb. We've got to make sure we police our trails. Next page, BTI labor is going up a little bit. That's above the 7.5%. But the more hours that have to be put in, and he did start to put in more hours the last couple of years. And believe it or not, it may not seem like a lot of money. We get a pretty big coverage for that stipend. And if we stop doing that, you don't want to know how bad the bugs would be. Yes, there are still bugs. We're never gonna fully eradicate them. The wind blows, we're gonna get them from Racket Lake, we're gonna get them from Big Moose. But this does help, and not just the golf course, it does help downtown.
If you get rid of the program, you won't have to worry about the rentals.
Good point.
You know, it's not fair. George is funnier than I am. Right. Moving on, sidewalks. I put another 5,000 in there and the board so far has said yes. Concrete's not getting cheaper, just like we talked earlier. Asphalt's going up, everything's going up. Flip over to the next page under parks. Parks equipment, we were able to lower this because I believe Mike's bought everything he needs for the parks.
Not everything.
But we're taking it back down to a more normal line. We usually try and keep this funded at some level so that if we have to buy a riding lawnmower or a new gator or whatever, we at least have something parked in the unexpended balance where we can tag on to it. As we did in the last couple of years. Fern mountain bike, I've added 5,000 there. The same Mr. Corsani that has allowed cell towers to go on top of his hill so he gets electricity and money from cell companies is also putting a ton of his own money into improving his mountain biking trails on his property. He asked that we do the same on our property. And we've been using his property for, not for free because he's got a recreational easement, but it's a pittance. When I tell you it's a pittance for what he gets for that recreational easement. Being good neighbors is being good neighbors. And I don't know if anybody's been out on those mountain bike trails. George, have you been riding them? The single track's killer, man. I walked the dog on it and hurt myself. But seriously, the work that's been done on those trails is nothing short of phenomenal in the last couple of years. And stay tuned. If he does what he wants to do up there and Mike keeps spending the money the right way on our trails, we're going to be a destination on mountain biking. And I won't be able to walk the dog there anymore. Fern Park contractual. I believe this was also going towards either the storage shed or I think, did we talk at one point about upgrading the electrical through the park, the lights or something like that?
I think that was also for
For the mountain biking? Okay. Thank you. Sewer lines, Arrowhead cottages and the town bathhouses. Yes, we also have to pay our sewer fees. And the budget for the sewer had gone up and I had not recognized that in the last two budgets, so I had to play some catch up there. Ski equipment. That's coming in the first of the year now. Oh, we'll be putting money back in the unexpended balance. This increase was to help cover part of a new groomer. But it's coming in earlier than we anticipated.
Hopefully if they get the drags.
What?
Hopefully if they get the drag.
Well, this is it. That's still the equipment story, isn't it? Everything's there but 2% of it. All right, celebration. The town board is finally letting me add a little bit more towards the fireworks display. It hasn't passed yet, but still in there. Zoning and planning board, I just bumped these up a little bit. They're higher than the 7.5%, but I mean, we're talking 250 and $700,000, not 700,000. Same with planning board clerk salary. It's up higher than the 7.5, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. Sanitation. I still got part-time bumped a little bit. We're still not quite sure what we're going to need to do for hauling of the recyclables, correct?
Yeah.
And I mean, if highway's gonna be hauling, we haven't done a lot of back billing that way over the years, have we? And the county's talking about making sure we do that, and I'm sure you probably would appreciate if we did that. Refuse. Contractual, tipping fees are gonna be going up. Tracy let us know that. Obviously, everything else is going up. Down under benefits, state retirement, police retirement. I was very hesitant to take these numbers down in the budget, just because the comptroller is all happy about the fact that his investments a year and a half ago in the state of New York were really good. We all know what's happened in the last year, but we ride the wave with retirement. If it's going down, we lower it. If it's going up, we have to raise it. Hospitalization insurance. That's up 12,740. It's at $4.30. Yeah, $4. 4.3% increase. This is where I say thank you, Linda Nelson. Has she gone south already? All right. Years ago, we went to a high deductible plan for our employees here at the town at Linda Nelson, who was our insurance broker and or tax collector at that point in time. I should say health insurance broker. It's paid us huge dividends. The increase was 8 or 9% for the health insurance this year. But because we do the high deductible plan and we fully fund that high deductible card, we're literally able to cut that in half. We can absorb the increases a lot better. We're one of the few areas and municipalities that we're actually a low use on our high deductible cards, and that pays dividends literally year after year after year.
Except 1,000. We don't believe it.
I say fully funded because who's actually gone over that 1,000 in the last couple of years? Sorry, she'd love for it to be fully funded.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
All right, again, that takes us to the yellow line on the next page where I stated earlier that the spending is actually up 7.99%. Not bad in the general fund. We consider labor is probably 82% of the budget for spending, and that's up 7.5%. This takes us into highway. General repair salaries, I took up 7.5%. The line underneath that's the contractual. That's up $10,000. Hopefully that gives us the same amount of asphalt and road miles we can fix. It would be nice if we could get more done, but it is what it is. Machine gas, it's no secret that the gas is going up. This is in line that we've always tried to keep high, not knowing what was going to happen year to year in the year with fuel. We want to make sure we're able to buy the diesel We're also thankful that the county at this point in time has taken on the research and goes out and gets bids for our fuel and constantly is checking that at the fuel depots. We entered into a sharing agreement with the county years ago. I don't know if anybody's noticed the new tanks that have been up by the highway garage for the last 5 years, 4 years. That's part and parcel with that. What they cost us, total of $40,000. And they were 200,000, if not plus tanks. Next line, superintendent call outs, new line, $5,000. Our highway superintendent, in my opinion, does a phenomenal job of answering the call in the winter. Employees, the highway employees are eligible for state call out pay. If they answer the call more than 10 calls, but not to exceed a certain. Anyways, this is recognizing the fact that Sean continues to answer that call in the winter. In my opinion, it's long overdue. And this is a way of adding a stipend to the line, recognizing work being done without changing the elected positions pay. And I want to be very, very careful how I say this, because once you elect the highway superintendent, they're their own person, correct? They can either choose to work or just choose to manage the office. There are some towns where the highway superintendent hasn't been in his office for 6 months. And believe it or not, they still get reelected, but they do their job differently. Sean's what I call a working highway superintendent. And this is in recognition of the hours during the winter where it's over and above what would be considered his job, in my opinion. State snow at the bottom line there. That's what we were talking about earlier. If everybody witnessed our conversation, trying to help Dan realize what's going on with this. But this is the number that we get back from the state for doing the beat. This isn't exactly the number, but this is the number I have to plug into the budget to try and say we're going to be getting some money. This is representative of what could be a bad year for what we call bad snow. I'm sure those that are driving the roads would say, hey, that's great. I don't have to worry about going off the road. But again, we're a tourist industry area. We kind of need the snow. We kind of want to be out there cleaning the roads, just not 20 hours a day, right? So again, this is a placeholder. We're hoping that Tracy is successful in his work to get more. Tracy, our county highway superintendent, is successful in getting the state to agree to pay more money per road hour. That gives us, I think I skipped over the yellow line on highway, previous page, sorry. Highways up 8.3%. Highway revenues are up 7.44%. And the rest is the fire and ambulance contract, assessed value. And did I have one more page? The absolute last page shows a health insurance comparison. Yeah, it's 7.73% was the increase this year. And then the last thing on there is our debt service for the salt shed that was put up back in 99, 98.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, our last payment is next year. So then the $10,000 that we've been paying out to the Environmental Facilities Corporation through the Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, can then start going towards the new roof and painting and the siding that needs to be replaced and the concrete that's falling inside. That won't be coming out of the budget, but at least we won't be paying for the building anymore. That's the budget as drafted. Anybody on the board have any questions on the budget as drafted? It's a public hearing. Does anybody, members of the public, have any questions on the budget as presented, as drafted? George?
More so for, this is the first time I've seen the budget, so when you go under line by line descriptions, it takes a little bit to figure it out.
Sorry.
Kind of looking at, it, I know if landscape would be better, or like you look at the AB cell or the X cell. You know, if you can shrink them down and maybe make the descriptions a little bit more easier for all those of us that don't see this every day. I just
Gotcha.
to make it more user friendly for everybody else that's not used to the abbreviations.
Gotcha. And by presenting it like this is the first year I've been able to get it to go side to side and bottom to bottom on the printed page. So I have more room now to do that kind of thing. I will take that under advisement. Thank you.
The colors are nice though.
Why, thank you. I picked out the one for 2022 just this afternoon. And again, I try to do that to make it easier on the eyes too.
Yeah.
All right, again, going back, those are our two public hearings. I believe both public hearings open. Obviously, the one on the short-term rentals, we've already talked about that being open. We'll leave the public hearing on the budget open until the end of the meeting. We'll continue with the rest of the agenda. Assessor codes, parts, building information is attached. Hopefully it's readable and legible. Or didn't screw things up. Does anybody have any questions? We are lucky enough tonight to have both the information office with us, the planning board with us, the codes and assessors office with us, the highway with us, and parks with us. And snowmobile grooming with us. Wow, they both pointed to you.
I know it.
Mike, you got anything you want to highlight?
Yeah, so our snowmobile and groomer are back on Auctions International. First auction didn't go as planned, so we put it back out there. Then, we have another 9 days, so, bidding's already better. Starting off, so.
Oh, well, closer to the.
I figured closer to the season was gonna be a
The new shed is coming Monday. I want to thank Dan, Sean, and Donnie for meeting with me and trying to figure out the best place to put it. And we figured that out, and not gonna cost any money doing any site work, so I think it's the best plan.
and we decided not to move the one that was there.
Yeah.
It looks good right where it's sitting and it's intact and let's leave it there.
Library. So we have an issue with the boiler over there. It's broken. Luckily, the part was under warranty. We need to replace the block. Unfortunately, they're giving us a time frame of up to 10 weeks for it to come. And as we know,
Like a salesman.
honestly, that might be our only bet. We did think of maybe doing some baseboard down there. The electrical so old, it's all the old screw-in fuses.
Facilitate with it.
Not really trusting it, so. I'm gonna call this new electrician, see what they think.
As soon as he told me that, what did I say? Go get some bids.
Yeah.
If we're worried about plugging in an electric heater or a table saw, we need to upgrade that.
So, but the settlement vendor might be the short-term solution.
Give it a good blast at the end of the day so that it-
Providing you can get the kerosene for it.
You have to watch that too, though.
Yeah.
Because there's a chaseway that goes right up to the 3rd floor. So all fumes, paint fumes and all that.
Go right up there, yeah.
You having issues with that, are you?
Haven't yet this year, but.
He won't for long. Have you seen John? No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're supposedly not firing up snowmobiles down there anymore, right?
No,
No, but before you could.
Right, before, yes.
I mean, we still do paint down there, but. Get around.
All right, well, all that just happened kind of this afternoon, so.
So we've been having an issue with the front door here at Town Hall. I think Adele can attest to this. It won't stay unlocked and won't lock correctly. When JM Door was here, looking at the police door, I had him just come up, take a look and give me an estimate. I got that estimate today. It's about $10,000. So.
For both doors or one door?
Just went through this with you.
So I would like not to do that. I believe we can fix it by just getting new hardware for the door. Hardware is probably around $600. It's something we can easily install. So I would just like the board's approval to buy the new hardware, new panic bars and all that. So we can get the door fixed.
Again, for the security of the building, that's within your spending budget. I thank you for asking, but yes.
Okay. And finally, I just want to thank Sean and the highway guys. They threw some stone down around the sewer plant road. And they had a little extra and we're able to go up onto some of our Fern Park trails and cover some really bad spots, and it's great. They also brought us down the dumpster for us to start cleanup. We already filled it once. They emptied it today. We're gonna start filling it again. So thanks. That's it.
John, anything you want to report out, your first report out?
John, in training. Amy's not here, she had an injury, so she can't be here tonight, but yeah.
You're already trying to push her out of the office?
No, she's very knowledgeable and she's amazing at helping me understand everything.
For the record, I'd like to state, this goes for almost every one of our employees, except for me, maybe, that we're very lucky to have all these people and you as well coming in. But yeah, we're very lucky to have Amy. All right, Adele, you want to point out the red highlights in yours? No,
Same old red.
actually, you got new stuff in the red.
Right?
Yeah, great meeting,
What is it?
a great meeting in Webb.
Oh, well, we did actually have them. Great, but it was a meeting.
The start.
It is a start. Still waiting for them to get back to us. Program that hopefully will work for both of us. But in the meantime, Bonnie and Denny and I have been working with someone else to bare minimum at least get a shopping cart going. So they can't have a program, but he's also looking at a program, so we could have our own system program. But I'm hoping, what Oak Ridge is looking at will work for all.
Oh, and thank you for going down to meet with them.
Well, they can't.
Oh, they came here?
Zoomed.
They zoomed, okay,
Wait, I didn't. Oh, yeah, they zoomed.
gotcha. All right. I think Parks, you already covered your equipment update, right? I don't have snowmobiling on here. Would you like to shoehorn yourself in? I think you've got a couple of requests, don't you?
No, I don't. I gotta get some more lumber.
Okay, I authorized you to do that. He's been out doing some bridge work.
Got
Yes, he sent me some great pictures that I'm gonna share.
Awesome.
That, insurance that, they're trying to get me to buy on that machine.
That's the one I was,
I gotta do a little more research on that before,
okay,
because, Piston Belief warranties it for 2 years and 2,500 miles for the machine, but not the motor. What's the motor warranty? The Cummins is, I believe it's 2 years to 2,000 hours. But I gotta look into it more. I gotta call Bill up and find out what that other thing is. So do we have a time frame where we couldn't buy that extended warranty or no? He said at least a month. So we have months. Yeah. Okay.
all right, so our next meeting is late in December. Will that cover that?
Yes.
Okay,
Make sure it does. Because he's the one that sends in all the paperwork. And he'll just write it so that we didn't receive it yet. Right. Yeah, let's look into it. It could be working. Because it could save us a lot of money, but it could, if we're covered with the other policy, there's no sense in getting. Oh, but it's a really neat machine. If you have time, come up and look at it. And the extended would take over after. Yes. So we'd have 4,000 hours. Right. Of warranty. Yeah, we can go for 6,000 hours, but like I said there earlier today, we got rid of that other, 4,000 hours on it, so we really want to go 6,000 hours and pay that extra money. Maybe we'll keep it longer. Maybe.
very good. All right, that brings us, oh wait, you got one more.
The furnace should be going in next week at the town, or the garage up there too.
Okay, the snowmobile barn,
Yes. Yeah. Normally we just put it in,
very good. And they actually had one in Stocker come in,
sitting down at the garage waiting for me to build a platform for it.
very good.
Mike might need that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. but I need that one.
we'll set it up temporary in anyways.
I had a couple small ones there.
All right. Sean's been waiting with bated breath to give us the highway report. Tag, you're it, sir.
All right, we haul garbage and recyclables. We haul garbage and recyclables for Long Lake as their trailer is still out of service. Took down the Kids Day banner, blew leaves off the roadways and trails. We installed the culvert on Evans Drive and made the cul-de-sac a little bit wider so that the snowplow can make the corner easier, hopefully. 4 of us attended a training class put on by Hamilton County Soil and Water on erosion and streams and all that kind of good stuff. All our plows are painted and ready for winter. We hung plow frames on the big trucks and we'll get spreaders ready soon. We put up posts for the roadside banners. We'll install cables when time allows. They'll be ready for use in the spring. I've been putting up sand in the salt shed, stacking it with the excavator. Put shoulders on the Uncas Road finally. I'd like to thank Hamilton County Highway Department for putting them down for us. Coming up, we're gonna be hauling garbage and recyclables. We're gonna continue to haul Long Lake stuff until they get their trailer back. We're gonna keep working on our equipment, getting ready for winter. And, right now I'm short one person, unexpectedly. And, I just found out that we will be short 2 people as of December 2nd. So we're looking for people that want to work, and that is going in the paper this week. It's gonna be a long winter if we don't find anybody.
If you got a CDL and you want health insurance and state retirement, good jobs. Good jobs. Overtime in the winter. Nice boss to work for. Some good employees to plow next to. You didn't hear me.
Yeah.
You didn't hear me. I said some good employees to plow next to.
We have fewer and fewer places to put snow in town while clearing the sidewalks. It's getting to be a task. We gotta carry snow a long ways. We'd have places that we can put it. So I'm looking to purchase a snow pusher for our skid steer, which should be able to push the snow a longer distance without having to snow blow it. As you snow blow it, it gets heavier and heavier, and then you gotta carry it forever, and it's tedious. So I'd like to buy a snow pusher for a skid steer. I have 2 quotes. One from Cage Innovation for $8,700 and one from Warner Sales and Service Bobcat for $78,68. They're hydraulic angle and 6-foot blade. Just looking to try to carry snow. Nobody wants snow anymore.
I had to put that garage up, so you lost the little area there, right? I mean, watching you guys try and clear the snow with a snow blower when it's the heavy wet 6 inches that comes down, it's just, I see where this is needed. It's a different.
He's an angle pusher?
Angle. Yeah. It's kind of similar, if anybody's seen those big ones that sit in the parking lots at Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot more useful for us.
It's 6 foot, so it would match a lot of the contours. You know, if you get anything wider than that, it's gonna leave a lot more. I mean, you're still gonna have to go back behind the telephone poles and clean up, but that's lighter snow. It doesn't carry as bad as the heavy stuff off the road.
Yeah, you almost need a 6 foot to fit where you're going, maybe.
Yeah. With the angle, it'll match the contours better. I'm just trying to make it more efficient to carry the snow. I mean, it sucks that we losing places to put it.
We're taking us longer every year. It's
Yeah.
another half an hour.
Yeah, it's an extra more time.
And considering it's downtown cleanup and it's again, the heavy stuff's the roadside from plowing. We had extra, I hate to say extra, we had over revenue line in highway. You have an issue with it coming out of there?
No.
Okay,
Well, yeah, we'll have to come out of there.
well, I'm
Yeah,
saying where's, the next thing's always asked is where
Yeah.
are you
Where's it
getting
coming from?
where are you getting the money, Mr. Fry?
So your trailers had come up with a way to carry the snow as gets you better.
and place it better.
The skid steer's down here every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could store it down here somewhere as we work with Mike
I'll let you try mine next time it snows if you want. I have an 8-footer.
for skid steer.
Yeah.
Useful.
Yeah, they're good. I mean,
I mean, I think.
That's for the lumberyard.
no, at my house.
Oh, at your house?
Yeah, my own. I just was curious what. I'm trying to think in my mind,
I mean,
what you're
it's-
trying to do with, that's all.
Yeah,
You don't like it,
No, it's got its pluses and minuses, you know.
yeah. But is it, 8 foot seems like a lot for a skid steer, push a lot of wet snow.
Well, he's not pushing his heavy wet snow on his road as he is on the shoulder.
He's pushing.
from plowing.
Bigger body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Buddy,
that stuff, that slough stuff that sits between the white line and the halfway into the sidewalk it's dense.
I mean, 6 foot's a lot for, it's not that big a machine. You get a lot of, that's a lot to. pull.
You must be what, 70 horse though, right? I don't know. What is that, Bob? What size is that?
60,
570.
65 horse, 66 horsepower. It's the same as mine. It's the same. It's not a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna do well, you're just gonna move the bulk and put
Yeah.
the snow blower back on. Right. Finish it up.
Yeah. I don't blame you for trying something. I don't blame you at all. I'm just trying to think in my mind
I mean, he
I
takes
do
it pushes
it
a lot with the
blower.
snow
No, I
blower,
just
but
turn the
it's.
blower up. Just use it.
and push with it. Yeah.
And
No, I commend you for, I'm just trying to think if there's a better mechanism for you. That's all. Try it. I just,
You can hire someone else and blow it into the truck.
yeah.
If we were doing miles of, that probably would be the answer.
Is it two-way angle, Sean? Is it?
Trucks lined up.
That would explain some of the money part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they seem a little pricey, but not,
I know when I started doing that, I was doing that in about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, just place to put the snow, you know?
it's probably worth a try for sure. You know, it's,
I honestly think we use the snow blower, if the snow blower is. only
just a,
5 foot
it's just a
snow,
box and he's just using the
And
same
that's a
thing.
5 foot snow blower.
If anything, we might be adding a little bit of life to that snow blower unit. Probably taxing that thing pretty heavy with that slush.
Does,
Yeah.
Anybody have an issue with him trying it?
I don't.
No, I don't know.
You gotta try something, I guess. you know.
Anybody like to make a motion so he can
Suggestion.
purchase the low bid?
Make one.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for being creative.
Thank you guys for your support, appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's all I have for highway.
Transfer recycling, I think we kind of covered a lot of that, except for the fact that you want to do the report? You want me to read it?
Open 4 days a week from 8 AM to 11:45, 1 PM till 6:45, closed Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. Closed from 12 to 1 daily till lunch. God bless you.
Bless you.
Let's,
The single stream recycling seems to be going well. I mean, it's pretty simple. Just a matter of. We
Feel guilty now.
Mix everything.
I can't get out of the habit. I still got the separate barrels at home.
Yeah.
But it's all plastics, 1 through 7, I believe.
Yep.
So it's all the stuff that we were throwing away, we can now recycle. So it'll be a little bit of a learning curve, but it seems to be going well. I know that bin fills up fast, but
So you're gonna have a lot more moving going on.
yeah.
You're gonna be trucking on the road a lot more than you were,
Respect,
which is expensive.
yes, sir.
Sean, I had a question. People are asking, do they still need clear bags?
Clear bags for the garbage, yes.
Okay.
That has not changed. The garbage has not changed.
And that's more from wherever it's winding up. It used to go up the bank up near Watertown. Now it's going down Fulton County. They still want to be able to inspect to make sure that, and the DEC comes in and grabs a random load and rips it apart to see how clean it is. And that's how they get their marks. And how they're allowed to expand or not expand.
That hasn't changed.
So that's a Hamilton County rule?
The clear bags?
Yes.
No, I believe that comes from where we take it. It started with Dank.
Well, all of Hamilton County is going to one place. So everywhere in Hamilton County.
It's supposed to be clear bags.
I'm trying to clarify that because I didn't think that was the case, but I was.
Again, I will preface it's supposed to be clear bags. We do what we're told here. Within reason. Anything else for,
Yes. I know there's discussion on buying a new bin for this year. I have two quotes. The one was a little scary that we talked about earlier, $9,775 for a 30-year container. I got another quote this afternoon for $8,446.68. 30-year container.
That's definitely more in line,
Same quality.
Yeah, you wanna know that part for sure.
because we've had it line in the budget.
With these two quotes, we've been going back and forth with these two companies. We have both been from both companies.
Mm.
So that's.
They're
they
both
just
very low.
quoted me, yeah.
We have been budgeting $8,000 a year for bins. Or at least there's 8,000 in that line, and it goes for other things sometimes too, but that's been the earmark. Would anybody like to have, we budget every year, and we talked at budget time about making sure we were purchasing the new bins on a timely basis
Before they decompose.
where they decompose. If anybody wants to come up and take a look at the Swiss cheese model that the Parks Department has been putting leaves in, that's end of life for the containers.
It was kind of a planned thing.
Yeah.
So,
You don't have to worry about wet leaves and holding water in that bin
no. A strainer.
at all. Hey, pretty much. Motion for him to purchase the low bid on the bin.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
We had money budgeted, right?
We had
Yeah,
money
we had money
budgeted.
budgeted.
We had money budgeted, and we talked about it at each year at budget time.
Who is
This-
it? Sean Waste Equip?
Waste Quip.
Okay.
Thank you for getting that lower price. Because we were talking this afternoon about going to every other year if we had to start paying that higher price. Anything else?
No, sir. Again, thank you guys for your support. Appreciate it.
Well, good luck with the hiring situation, and one way or another, we'll work through it, and what you need, let us know,
Thank you.
okay?
Yep.
Town clerk,
Well, I don't have revenue because I couldn't get it to my system to cooperate this afternoon, so I'll just post that. The other thing I said I would mention is that we now in the lobby before my office have a Narcan box, yeah, that has emergency use Narcan for any overdose, or even if, you know, somebody were to come in contact with something, and it'll be open. The lobby will be open 24/7 with lights on. And we just have to find out a way to heat the lobby. Give it a little bit of heat so it doesn't
yeah,
freeze.
a little bit of heat, just to keep it at 40
Right.
degrees.
Right, so it doesn't freeze is all.
This Narcan, in case anybody doesn't know, it's technically inert. If you're not having a opiate overdose, it's not gonna do anything for or against you. So this is for somebody, if you've got a loved one, a visitor, or know somebody that's experiencing that, this is a location where you can find it. We're not trying to encourage the use of it, but we want to make sure that, God forbid, somebody needs it, it's there.
And that's all I had.
Public comment number 2. Who's gonna take Peggy's place? Julie, come on. Good for you. I didn't mean, oh, never mind.
I'll talk about long-term rental, but I'm still gathering them and.
You've got time. I noticed that they've got protective pilings the property next to yours for the boat launch. Is that what they're planning on? You can see as how they share more information with you than anybody else. Yeah, the cones.
Yeah, so I guess, the excavator guy, Fury, he's done for now. So the fencing part is supposed to be next, but part of the fencing material is running behind schedule. So we don't know when the fence is gonna go up. Paving's still planned for spring. I'm putting a little pressure trying to find out when the fence is gonna go up. I know it probably sounds odd, but we've lived there with a fence our entire lives, so to have no fence there during snowmobile season.
Lost your security.
Is a bit unnerving. There are places where they obviously wouldn't be able to get on our property because there's such a height difference. There's also places where it's completely flat. So 2 in the morning after someone's been drinking, it's not unreasonable to think
that they could fall into our play structure, our cottages. I mean, you would hope not, but, so I'm a little concerned about that. I just shut off an email to the DEC folks. If nothing else, I wonder if they could sync posts like they did on the opposite side. Even in just the places where the land is flat going onto ours. We'll see what happens.
That's for temporary for the winter.
If they're-
I said John DeSantis, he's pretty reliable guy.
If they're willing to purchase the snow fence, I might be able to find somebody to help put it up. I'm hesitant to do that because it's their boat launch. I hate opening the door on any liability on us, quite frankly, on you. You know, it's their job to protect that site. And we were told that they weren't going to allow any snowmobiles down there. Obviously, I would like the fact that snowmobiles could go down there, but not the way it sits.
We were just talking about that tonight, so if it's just the cones, it's gonna take one person to put those cones, and then is this gate gonna come back up and then put the cones back up, and you know, Tommy was like, well, I'll keep doing it, and I'm like, that's a battle we don't wanna fight and shouldn't have to fight.
I'd be willing to put snow fence across the property from your driveway to the other driveway, but they're still gonna go around it.
Exactly, like where those cones are, that's not where the snowmobiles enter.
Oh, I know. No, and so we'd wind up running it down the road where the other fence posts are now.
Yes, yeah.
And the contractor was not allowed for some legalistic reason to put any temporary fence here or on our property, he said, and he was very nice, so I'm gonna go with what he said. Because we had concerns about, our dogs were running over there, which is our fault, but still, again, we're used to having a fence. Our dogs were running over there when the machinery was running around and people are walking down the boat launch and they're coming over onto our property. Our guests, our kids are going over, playing on the machinery. So again, our fault, but still, like, these are we never had to deal with this before. And, so the contractor says that he's not allowed to do any sort of fencing temporary. So it would have to be on DEC to provide a temporary fence and.
Carbon copy me and any, if you're doing emails to them asking that, if you could. And
And we'd be happy to help put up a temporary fence.
well, again, you don't want to open yourself up, unfortunately.
That's true, yeah. It's kind of unprecedented times. We don't, yeah, you're right. We don't want to do anything that makes it seem like. If we put up the fence and we get hurt, is that our fault?
This is why I say I don't have silt fence up. Themselves.
All right, anything else for public comment? All right,
Oh, wait, a question about the pickleball court and the Townsend Trail.
I deserve that, didn't I? I deserve that. We're still looking for funding on the one and, winter's interrupting the other. All right, we've got two public hearings open. Again, the first one is going to remain open. We have a public hearing. Does anybody have anything else on the town budget? If not, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing on the town budget. Offered.
Second.
Discussion. Having met more than once to review this and having shared it and gone through the public hearing, I will ask for the public hearing vote to be closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried unanimous. What is the board's pleasure? Would the board like to adopt said budget? If so, somebody needs to make a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget as proposed.
I'll second it.
Dan, discussion? Again, I'd like to thank the department heads. I mean, I know there's not a lot of drastic changes in there, but I think the department heads do a very good job of living within the budget we have. It's a budget guideline. If there's needs that come up, we still try and make sure we can make things happen. Sometimes too much, according to her. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So carried. That's your adopted 2023 budget. I
You
will,
don't have to do a poll vote on it.
why not?
I don't know. That's why I asked.
Will the town clerk please call the vote on the 2023 budget?
Councilman Brownsell.
Aye.
Councilman Schmidt,
Aye.
Supervisor Fry,
Aye.
Councilman Levy,
Aye.
and Councilman Townsend.
Aye.
All right, I will now direct the town clerk to send a copy over to the county when they ask for it. I have nothing for executive session. Motion to pay highway,
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so carried. Motion to pay general and sewer bills.
Offered.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Folks, our next meeting is on the 13th of December. Same people coming? But seriously, I hope it's not just because we got something that could be perceived as controversial going on. It's nice to see people in the audience. We haven't had people in the audience for a while. And it's, what's that?
And want to be part of it.
All right, and you're welcome, whether we agree, disagree, or have questions. It's, thank you. I don't know how to take that, but yes, okay. Motion to adjourn.
I just got one more thing. I was just reading this. I didn't know if it was a mistake. There's two motions that were made by the supervisor last month.
We're actually allowed to make them.
Okay, I didn't know if that was just the wrong name or, okay.
No, if there's things that I'm really passionate about, sometimes I'll dive in. I tend not to try and do it, just for objectivity. It's just a whereas or whatever.
That's fine.
No, well, no, just that you asked the question, so now you gotta listen to me for another 30 seconds.
Okay.
We get accused sometimes of just slamming things through. It's not the case. I mean, anybody that was here early heard us discussing the budget or whatever. We do talk about these things at the budget sessions and the other areas. It's just after listening to the other supervisors at Hamilton County, because we're a Board of Supervisors county. I honestly do like working with the board I have and the public that we have coming here. Some of the other towns, there's screaming matches going on in constantly in between the public and the board, and between the board members and the supervisor. I think it's one of the reasons why we have a successful town is the people that live here, the people that work for us, and the board that's running it. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we're lucky. I listening to some of these other town supervisors. It's a good place to live right now.
All right, I just wanted to move this thing. I wasn't used to that. I guess.
Nope. Thank you, George. And you are funnier than I am. Motion to adjourn.
Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was gonna say, if I could dump the snow at the end of the cul-de-sac.